Easy now. Papa got things making headlines.
Come down. Ooh, you make my high come down. Always tripping when you come around. I'ma have to cut you off, like right now. You see, I don't want to drive me. You can say that for your mama. Maybe you should smoke some. Me try the marijuana. I was never you good. The vibe was straight. Showed you a couple of things and they ain't finished change. I treated you right. Everything was a gift from a time to your bag and the color on your lip.
Welcome to the Seahawks Man-to-Man podcast, powered by The Athletic. Shout out to the company. My name is Michael-Shawn I'm here with my co-host, Christopher Kidd. Make sure you follow us both up on the tweet machine. You guys know where to follow me, Mikeddugar. I am verified on there still. Shout out to Elon Musk, has not taken my blue check away. Shout out to all of our YouTube subscribers as well. Seahawks Man-to-Man on YouTube is the name of the channel. That is the number 2 man and Seahawks Man-to-Man. Chris, holla.
What is good, everybody? It's your boy, Christopher Kidd. Be sure to follow me on Twitter at CKIDD206 and that's CKid206.
All right. We do a bonus episode of Seahawks Man-to-Man on YouTube. We usually release it on Fridays, if it's normal schedule. That's where we break down like a film thing. And on the last episode of that, at least I think it was on the last episode of that.
Yeah, it was.
Yes, it was. We kind of jokingly made a promise that if the Panthers had beat the Seahawks, we wasn't even going to have like no introduction part of the show. Like we usually have a thing that me and Chris just want to talk about independent of the questions that you guys ask. Usually get to the Twitter questions somewhere in between 20, 30, 40 minutes into the show. We were kind of joking like, yo, if you lose to the Panthers, man, we ain't going to do that. We just going to take y'all questions because we know you're going to have a million of them. And what do you know, Chris? They went out there and lost to the Panthers, man, 30 to 24. The final, the last drive there makes it look a little bit more respectable. But yeah, 30 to 24. Panthers win. Panthers are 5-8. The Seahawks haven't won at Lumen Field, I feel like, since the Civil War. For real, I can't even. When the last time they won at home? The Giants game? Yeah, I think it was the Giants game in like week 8. I want to say
that is ill.
Yeah, let me see. I'm gonna look at this before we get into the questions here. Let's see. Scheduled by team. The Seahawks have not won at home since the Giants game on October 30th. So right now, today it is December 11th. Yeah, the Seahawks they only had one home game, looks like, in the month of November, and it was the Raider game. So, but still, it's been a while. And they got the Niners coming in on Thursday night. Yeah, the Seahawks messed around and lost. So to basically honor our little unofficial promise there, we ain't got no introduction. We're going to get to everything in the questions, the best part of the show. And we have so many. How many we get today? We was getting on before the game went final. People tweeting me, hey, question for the pod.
Yeah, I got a DM early. Hey, question for the pod. So, yeah, it definitely – people weren't waiting. I'll tell you that much. Hey, get these off now.
Yeah, everybody question for the pod. We have a gazillion of them, so let's get to it. Chris, they'll cover everything too. It sounds like. So
defense. That's all we need to talk about, right?
Yeah, that was definitely gonna be the thing, no matter what. So yeah, let's do it.
Well, here we go. This one comes from Thurston at Thurston_MZ. He's over there in Germany, so he's probably asleep right now while we're recording this. But by the time he gets it, obviously he'll be up and ready to tune in. How disappointed are you guys about the last games? And even if the Seahawks make the playoffs, it could possibly be them getting knocked out early. So I guess how disappointed are we the last few games regarding how the Seahawks are playing, especially on the defense?
Disappointed is probably not the word, because I don't have like any emotional investment in there. I do think that I get more and more alarmed as they go on, and like part of it is this quote didn't make my story, but like it's something that, like, I'm going to see if I can find it in here. They just can't run the ball. Oh, here we go. It's from Pete Carroll. He says, the running game, he said, I'm really disappointed because we focused on areas that we're looking at. The running game on offense and running game on defense were both focus points for us. We have to get this thing turned, and we're still on it. And that's not the strongest of quotes, but it kind of summarizes how I've been looking at their last few games. Even some of the games they won, like the Giants game, for example. No, actually, the Giants game is a bad example. But they've had some games here where they can't stop the run, and they can't run the ball. And they've known that that's going to be the key in all of the games and still can't do it. Right? And that speaks to a ton of issues we'll get to, but like disappointed is not the word because, like Pete can be disappointed because he has an emotional attachment in here and he's also filthy stinking rich. Me, on the other hand, I am not filthy stinking rich. And I have no emotional investment, but it is just, it's alarming. It's concerning. It's all those words because when you focus on something all week and then are just bad at it, like that's pretty, disappointing, frustrating, alarming, concerning. What other adjectives you got?
I would say for me, it's odd. This team definitely has the talent. They just aren't getting it done for reasons we touched on last week. And unfortunately, we said that, if they don't figure it out, we ain't got much to say for the whole show. We just going to get to the Twitter question because it's literally the same things that we've been saying. It just execution, consistency, it hasn't come together. And we talked about it off wax, obviously. They do it for a play here, and then the next 3 plays, they get gouged for 13 yards on a first down. So that right there in a nutshell, it's really the simple things on this field, for this football team. And unfortunately, it's just not coming together. So, the word I'm going to use is odd. Not disappointed. Right. I'd say odd.
Yeah, that's fair, too. Yeah, it's bad. This is some bad loss. I mean, you really don't want to say bad loss because every team has NFL players, but these are some bad losses here. They've lost to some teams who coming into the game have had losing records. Pretty sure. That's pretty disappointing.
This next one comes from KT at LLCoolK5. Oh, we know this guy, don't we, Mike?
KT. Hey, yo. What's going on, KT?
With a tough remaining schedule, y'all think the Hawks make the playoffs, especially since they can't seem to stop the run?
So me and Chris were talking about this particular question, not because it's Kyle. Kyle's our homie, by the way. But not because it's KT who asked it, because of the premise is that the Seahawks have a tough schedule. I don't think the Seahawks schedule is actually that tough, like just a 4-game stretch here. It's the Niners with a third-string quarterback and no Debo, it looks like. It's then the Chiefs. That's tough. That's tough. And then you got the Jets with their third-string quarterback. And whatever's left of the Jets run game, I think their leading rusher today was their third stringer. Somebody whose last name is Knight. Yeah. And then the Rams playing Baker, who just showed up 10 minutes ago. So like on paper, that's not that tough. Like I bet you their strength of schedule rating compared to other teams is actually not that crazy. I bet you it's probably middle of the road. It's tough. And it goes to answer KT's question. It's tough because of what they're bad at, stopping the run. When you can't stop the run, every game's tough. Seriously, every team's got a running back who can get busy. Like the worst teams in the league have like a decent running. And then like today, the leading rusher was Chuba Hubbard. Him and Deontay Foreman has 74 yards, but like that was 2 dudes with 74 yards. It was 74 times 2. Got 148 with those two, just 2 dudes right there. Not to mention Raheem Blackshear, who I quite literally never heard of until this morning. Goes in and gets the game-ending touchdown basically, and he had like 32 yards on like 4 carries or something like that. So it's not. I don't think the schedule's tough. I know, Chris. I know you kind of think it's tough. I just think it's tough because of what they're bad at. Because when you're bad at stopping the run, you can lose to Georgia, like maybe not. That's too much of an extreme. But yeah, when you can't stop the run, the worst quarterbacks in the league, I'm talking like XFL All-Star type caliber dude, like should not be in the NFL at all, can beat you. That's just the reality. So yeah, I don't think their schedule's tough. I do think they can still get into the playoffs. Just because of who they're battling against. It's basically the Seahawks. I'm not throwing the Lions in here because they've lost some tiebreakers. That's going to make it tough for them. But you've basically got the Giants, the Washington Commanders, and the Seahawks fighting for 2 spots. Because I don't think either of those teams are very good, especially the Giants. The Giants are bad, legitimately bad. Because I don't think the Giants are very good, I think the Seahawks end up just like squeaking in. It helped because they got the tiebreaker over the Lions. Who are 6-7, I believe. And I think only one team from the NFC South is going to get in. It's either going to be the Bucs or the Panthers. Maybe it's the Saints by a miracle. So I think they can get in, but yeah, I want to point that out. I reject the premise that their schedule is tough. I think it's tough just because of what they're bad at. The Jets are not scary because the Jets are scary. The defense is scary. But the Jets are scary because they don't need Mike White to throw it to beat the Seahawks as currently constructed. They don't need Zach Wilson to throw it. They don't need Joe Flacco to throw it. Like, they can just hand it off. Same thing with the Rams, So that I think is important to know too with that question.
50-50. It's close. For me, I do think it's kind of tough just because of the 2 games they do have, but then the one game where I'm thinking that it's actually not that tough, it's just the Niners game because they really do one thing really well. That's run the football, and then they also have a good defense. So I guess in totality, that is really a tough game. So I'll give it 2 teams. As you said, the Niners for sure. Chiefs, their offense is dynamic. Their defense is okay. The Jets just have a good defense. I'm not really worried about their offense. Seahawks have a wash there, but defensively, if they can't stop the run, that does mean possibly 4 challenging games because one side of the ball hasn't figured it out. But that's just the reality of it. And I do think they're a playoff team, but they have put themselves in a really tough position. We'll see what happens, I guess, when it comes down to it. They have 4 games to prove that they can make something of themselves, and they can still win this division. That's the crazy part. They can still win the NFC West.
How many games back in the NFC West are they?
I think that's actually the Niners won today, so that what did the Niners 8-9 and 4? So maybe not.
Play the Niners, so that helps. So
that does, but they're 9 and 4, so the Seahawks have to win out.
And they need the Niners to lose some games.
It's possible, especially with their current situation at quarterback, but their defense is actually really disgusting.
Their defense is elite. Elite today. Not today, but just every day. They're just
holding Tom Brady to 0 for 3 quarters is very impressive.
Yeah, the Bucs offense actually isn't that good, but yeah, that's another team that can't run the ball unless it's against the Seahawks. So, yeah.
Next question comes from actually your family member, your cousin, Mr. Dugar, Demetrius. Who is the linebacker coach, and can they survive this season? Our backers are always in the wrong place. Our safeties and DBs shouldn't be the first ones hitting the running backs.
To answer my cousin's question, the linebackers coach. So I think Aaron Curry is not. I know. Aaron Curry is basically like the edge coach, and then so that's think Darryl Taylor, Bruce, who else? Boy Mafe, Chenna. That's who I was thinking of, Chenna. So there's an edge emphasis coach. That's like Aaron Curry, and the inside linebackers guy is a guy named John Glenn. JG's been on the staff for a little bit. Actually, I think it's his 10th year or something like that. Does he survive the season? That's a good one. They changed coordinators. And usually when you change coordinators like that, some of the guys who are holdovers from the previous staff can be some of the guys who can be the first to go. If there are some changes made, because Cody and Jordan have both made some strides this year, that probably speaks to some of the work that JG is doing with them. But I think that's a fair question because they have struggled in every facet at different points of the season. Right now with the run game, to be clear, I don't think it's just our linebackers stink. I think everybody is playing a role in the run game being bad. But in some games it's been the linebackers, and some games the linebackers have been bad at pass coverage, either whether it's blowing something or getting beat or whatever. So you've had some hits and misses, but then Jordan and Cody have played really well in some games too. So it's just inconsistency. And when you're talking about a guy in Cody who's starting for the first time, and then you got a guy in JB who's in year 3 calling plays for the first time, maybe you expect some of those ebbs and flows in 2 young guys' games. But I do think if there were changes to be made, I don't think Clinton gets fired after 1 year. Maybe guys leave if they want to. But I think when you're looking at dang, maybe we should make a change here, JG would seem to be on a short list of guys potentially because, that's his position group ain't hot. But to be fair, everybody position group really struggling except for, I would say, Carl Scott, the DB coach. Yeah, he's got them guys. Michael Jackson's playing solid. Tariq Woolen's probably gonna make the All-Pro team. So his guys are doing fine. So, but yeah, I think JG survives this season, but I don't feel great about it right now. I obviously haven't done no reporting on that, but yeah, I could see him being scapegoated for some of this because having the worst run defense in the league, that's rough.
This one's from Jeff. How does Puna Ford and Brian Monet grade against the run? I know Al Woods is considered good, but it feels like he struggles to stay healthy.
So I grade. I don't go handing out grades, and I don't really care about PFF grades really. I think they're useful in some cases and not so useful in others. But what I will say is everyone on the D line, generally speaking, so this includes Puna, this includes Q Jeff and Shelby, Al, Brian Monet, everybody generally has the same problem. It's inconsistency. You got some plays. There was a play today. Q Jeff just blows some shit up. I think him and Ryan combined. I think the run only goes for like 1 yard. Great play. I think it was like in the first half. Then you have plays where guys are just getting washed off blocks. Then you have another play like Brian Monet's play, and he had a tackle for loss on the first goal line trip where Deontay Foreman ends up scoring. You got that play. Brian Monet just blows it up. Perfect. And you had some other plays where guys like shoot some gaps, and like I showed some run fits in our last podcast, on the one that came out on Friday, our bonus episode for YouTube. I showed one where Bruce Irvin gets in the backfield, showed one where Chenna gets in the backfield. Chenna had one today where he got in the backfield on a short yardage situation. I think he missed a tackle. I think it was on the goal line as well. So my point is that everyone generally, the exception of Al, with Al, he gets double teamed a lot. So it's a little trickier with him. Brian Monet too. But generally speaking, the problem is guys are not getting off the ball consistently enough. And they'll do it one play here or one play there. Seattle actually has like a decent amount of run stuffs, which is like a tackle for no gain, exactly no gain. They actually are doing well in that since week 10 when this kind of slide happened. But they're not getting enough of them. And they're not getting enough of TFLs, tackle for loss. So, yeah, I don't think it's Puna, but it's Shelby, who didn't play today, Al, who didn't play in the second half. I think that the general problem is guys are not consistently making plays and wreaking havoc in the backfield. And because of that, teams can just stay in their script, keep running the ball, keep going under center, keep running the same shit over and over and over again, and the Seahawks basically have no rebuttal.
This one is from Stephen Collins. At first, Stephen Collins, why not go back to the 4-3 defense? It can't get worse than what it is running the 3-4. They don't have the personnel yet to run this new defense. Why do they insist on running it this season?
A few things there. Good question, Steven. Steven's another frequent asker, I want to say. First thing, there is no front that does not have a flaw, right? Like if you run a 4-3, like we've seen in the past, when the Seahawks had some good run defenses, you can get cooked. You can particularly get cooked on like off tackle runs. There's some other, pretty much any run can beat you depending on the front, but like every front has a flaw, just like every coverage has a flaw, right? It's like you can't just run a bunch of cover 2, like there's no cover 2 beaters out there, like you can't just run a bunch of cover 3, like there's no schemes that can beat cover 3. Just like there's no, you can't just say I switched to 4-3 and then we'll be better stopping the run. Well, they can run on that too, right? Like football's been around for a little bit. Same thing with the 3-4. It's like that. There's every front has a problem. Eventually it comes down to getting off blocks for one. But specifically to the Seahawks and their problem today and some of the recent issues they've had, they've actually been running like those 4-man fronts pretty often. They did that a lot today. I don't have the full breakdown numbers, but they were doing that today, bringing a safety down, like going back to what they were doing some of the previous years. Like they ran a lot of cover 3 today, and it was not working at all. And just like last week against the Rams, they ran a lot of cover 3, like not cover 9. I'm about to get real, not complex here, but so cover 9 is basically, it'll look like cover 3, but it'll be like a match cover 3, meaning like if a guy leaves, you're matching the routes in your zone, and sometimes you just follow that shit. I think Tariq Willis pick 6, I think is like against the Lions, like a cover 9 situation. Whereas cover 3, you're not. It's more traditional, just play your zone, like Tariq's pick on the wheel route against the Rams. That was just regular cover 3, stay in the deep third of your zone. But like now they're kind of back to, all right, cover 3, 4-man front, bring Ryan Neal into the box, still got gashed. So like today they even tried some of that, to Steven's point, and it did not matter because every front has an issue, and there is no perfect front when your guys are getting knocked off the ball. So that's really bad. And then the only other thing you can do potentially is like crash down and like take a shot here, but we've seen where that works sometimes, And then sometimes you get out of the wrong gap, and then boom, you're fucked. You're leaving Quandre out to dry. You're leaving Tariq out to dry. You're leaving Kobe or Ryan Neal, someone whose jersey number is in the 20s. You're leaving them out to dry. And usually, generally speaking, I know they switched the jersey rules, but generally speaking, if a guy whose jersey number in the 20s has to make the tackle, you're probably screwed. Eventually, that will be bad. So that's why, Steve, they'll just go back to that. A, they've already done it, and B, there's just no perfect front when guys aren't getting off blocks.
This next one comes from Ted Jones at Nutsack Volcano. I know you remember that one, Mike.
I don't remember Nutsack Volcano. I don't know how I don't remember that, but all right.
Are there any personnel changes this season that can be made to fix the defense?
I don't think there's a notable personnel move to make. I think you could play like Boye Mafe a little bit more at the expense of maybe like a Chenna or a Bruce. But even then, I just don't think – I think Bruce played fine today. I think Bruce had some –
Hell, he had a sack.
Even without the sack, just looking at the run stuff, like Bruce has been pretty decent in the run. Some of the boot stuff was getting him against the Rams. That was a little tricky. But yeah, I thought Boye maybe – I mean, obviously you don't want to play – they were playing Miles, Adams, and LJ probably a lot more than they would have liked just because they didn't have Shelby and they didn't have Al. You know, that's just a problem. Not having those two of their better players up front. So that's an issue. So, I mean, having those guys probably help against the 49ers if, in fact, they can play. I don't know the status of Al's calf. I'm always scared of calf injuries because it makes me think, do you have a calf? Oh, no, it's a heel. Excuse me.
Oh.
I'm always scared of those because I'm thinking, oh, your Achilles is about to pop, you know, and you just don't want that. So when I hear heel injuries, I'm like, fuck, that's bad. Shelby's sick. Don't know how sick. But I would imagine he probably tries to tough it out on Thursday. That would be my guess because I think guys in the NFL are just so accustomed to dudes playing through stuff that missing a game because you're sick is kind of one of those ones that I don't think a lot of that like they're like, all right, you're sick, but like that's just not something that usually sits really well. Like you got to be damn near dying, you know, for them to be like, oh, okay, yeah, I feel you, bro. Otherwise, it's like, bro, get your sick ass out here. So I would imagine that Shelby toughs it out. But there's no personnel. You gotta ask dudes to play better, which is also alarming because it's December. What day is it?
13th, 12th.
It's December 11th. Excuse me. December 12th. By the time they're hearing it, it's December 11th when we're recording it. By the time if you're just asking dudes to play better in December 11th, yeah, that's a problem.
Not good. This next one comes from Tyler Purcell at TP_004. Are the Seahawks defensive struggles in recent years more of a defensive coordinator problem or a head coach?
Yes. The answer is yes on that. And Pete Carroll said today, he's like, I got to be better. I got to help our defense more, man. And because, you know, they did go to this structure, this 3-4 split safety light box structure. Like that was their shift. They were doing the bare front thing, just you know, like in preseason and stuff, and they came out in the year running a lot of those four-man fronts. I think they call it like a stick front, I think is what theirs is called. But anyway, so that's usually when you see four guys at the line instead of like a nose over the center. So they have those different fronts, and they came out in the light box front earlier in the year, and they're getting their asses ran on. So then you see them make some changes, bring in the penny package, you know, go more with the bare front. Pull Cody Barton off the field, use Kobe Bryant as like an extra linebacker, and it was they had some success there. And even Cody started playing better too in that stretch. And now they're back to like a more of a 4-3 look and cover 3, and they're just getting run on that. So it's like whatever they're doing is just getting ran on, and that's another reason why I use the word alarming, because I think we talked about this on the podcast that dropped Wednesday. Is that like every team, Chris, that's run on them is they're out scheming them. Like the Bucks came in with a tendency to not run it very often. The Seahawks deactivated Brian Monet, and the Bucks were like, bet run time. Here's Rachaad White, right? And then the Raiders, it was like, oh, you guys are dedicated to stopping Devontae? Did you forget we got Josh Jacobs? Boom. Ran it right at him, fullback look, boom. Another coaching miscue. The the Rams game. Like I think I mentioned this too. If you watch the All Access thing from the Seahawks put out after the game, I think they put it out like Tuesday or Wednesday. It's on their YouTube channel. Quandre Diggs, before they break the huddle on defense, says, "We know what it's going to be. It's going to be runs and it's going to be boots." Right? He says that to the defense. What did the Rams go out there and run? A bunch of fucking boots, and they just ran the ball. Like it was all the stuff that they expected, and it still worked with not Bryce Perkins, who was the quarterback, John Wofford in that game. Today, same thing. One of the first questions that Ryan Neal got asked in the press conference was, "Did they surprise you with any of their runs?" Ryan says,
Nope.
No, they did not. They ran exactly what we thought they were going to run. Under center, they ran their shotgun runs. We're getting them to they knew all that. Even Pete Carroll said we weren't surprised by shit. They just got schemed up. Chris, did they talk about them running the same play on the broadcast? Did they talk about that at all?
I believe so. I said, I get locked in. I really don't even hear them much. I mean, I obviously they're talking, but I'm sure they definitely mentioned it because we saw the same plays, literally. Like that last drive when they got a field goal, they ran the same play that entire drive. Threw a couple of passes behind the line of scrimmage was considered a run to Chenault, but swing passes they are called. But for the most part, that last drive, the whole game, they ran, I think, 5 plays. just switched them up.
I got the numbers in front of me. So the not the last drive, so the second to last drive where they get the touchdown run by Blackshear, again, who I just heard of this morning. Hopefully he wasn't like a star college player and I'm just sounding like an idiot, but I had never heard of this Blackshear.
Well, do you watch a lot of college football, Mike?
I really don't. I think college football is such a bad product. Anyway, so the Panthers get the ball. They are on their own 26 with 12 minutes left. They're up 20-17. They go shotgun and run it with Chuba. He gets 11 yards, first down. Then they go under center, Chuba again, 6 yards. Shotgun, zone read, Sam Darnold, 2 yards. Shotgun, Chuba, 12 yards. A flea flicker because why the hell not? Shotgun, Blackshear, 16 yards, first down. Shotgun, Blackshear, again, 6 yards. Shotgun, Chuba, 7 yards, first down. And then they, like you said, they ran a swing pass, which was basically out of the same motion. It's the same play call. It's either just Sam throws it or he hands it off. It's the same thing out of shotgun. And then again, shotgun with that same motion, 8 yards, Blackshear, touchdown. So that's 10 plays, and on 8 of them, they ran the exact same play.
Ew.
8. Now, one of them that's a swing pass, like you said, but it's the same. It's an orbit motion, and when I say orbit motion,
it's the same swing pass they saw earlier where he attacked Quandre and wanted all the smoke. He ducked his head. It was.
Oh yeah, that looked violent. Yeah,
it did. Boy stood up and was like, "Yeah." I was like, "Oh my goodness, that is a tank." But continue, Mike.
Yeah, well, that's all that orbit. So when I say orbit motion, that's when you see Chenault just coming around in the backfield. The Seahawks do it too with Tyler quite a bit. So if you they do run that kind of orbit motion thing, like so that's basically all the same play. And the reason they're running that play is because when you have the little swing pass, it's like Jordan Brooks. If he's on that side of the formation, he has to honor that they'll run the swing pass because they ran it a few times. And when you run it to keep them honest, Jordan has to acknowledge it. Well, what happens when he acknowledges it? It pulls him out of the box. So even if you have Ryan Neal coming down, if you pull a tackle or a guard from one side of the formation to the other, you're getting Bruce is basically taking the edge. Okay, well, you got that puller. It's a puller versus either Ryan Neal or like Kobe Bryant. Come on, man. That's unfair to them. There's not even nothing to speak to their skill set. Ryan shouldn't be taking on pulling linemen. That's hard, man.
Ever.
He's a safety. I mean, not you have to do that, but like when you say a box safety, that's what the box safety has to do, and that shit hurts, right? So, as an example of stuff guys playing through shit, Ryan has an injured knee, shoulder, and an elbow the size of a Christmas tree on his arm.
You saw that big ass break? Yeah, that big old.
He's still playing. So, like, that's what I mean. Like, Shelby's probably going to tough it out because when you got guys like Ryan playing through stuff like that, like, guys just don't want to hear that you're sick. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, so they basically, that's how they were. When I say scheming them up, like the Bucks did it, the Raiders did it, the Rams did it, and then the Panthers did it a way that these guys just didn't have answers for it. And that is bad. That's coaching. That means that their coaches are in there be getting real diabolical during the week, and they're being better at it than your guys. And that there really is nothing. You talk about personnel. There's nothing to fix that Like, you can be better than the coaching staff on the other side, here and there. But it was like 4 weeks in a row, at least on defense, the other team's offensive staff has been better. That's troubling, man. Because what are the players going to do if the guy's leading them? It starts with the coaching staff. It starts with them building the plan. This gives you guys a little insight into how the week works. Let's say it's a regular week. When the guys come in like Wednesday, 6 a.m., 7 a.m. or whatever, that's when they get the game plan and they get it taught to them. If when they get the game plan at 6 or 7 o'clock in the morning on a Wednesday and it ain't good, you kind of screwed from the jump there. So yeah, that's really bad, man. I forgot the question we were answering there, but that's the big issue there. I'm sure people want to know, like, why the fuck are we getting run on? We being the Seahawks. That's why. Getting schemed up every week, and it's bad because they had no answer for that one play. They ran that play they ran like two plays. They either ran like under center or they ran that shotgun shit. That was it. That was the whole game plan.
It might have been max 5 different plays that they had planned. Their best player had 0 receptions. DJ Moore did not catch a pass. That puts things into perspective. The man did not catch a pass. He got a carry before he caught a pass. Just let that sink in for a second as we move on to our next question. Seattle gets gashed on the ground again. Any chance Jalen Carter can suit up for the Seahawks Thursday?
Jalen Carter's that kid from
Georgia.
From Georgia, yeah, the defensive tackle from Georgia. I do think though that while having him in there would be helpful, I think that one player is not going to do it. The Seahawks are at the point that the Chargers ran last year when they had a really bad run defense, and when you can't just make 1 or 2 moves. I think they drafted a linebacker, signed Sebastian Joseph Day. I think they drafted a defensive tackle as well. Like, they went all in on the thing. That was their issue. And sometimes a lot of times it's multiple people you need to step up. I mean, look at the Eagles this year. They were bad at running the ball. And they were like, where's Ndamukong Suh? Who's the other guy they signed? They signed like Linval Joseph, I think. So they made some moves. They were like, we need to get some 3 techniques in here. Now they had some injuries too. I think Jordan Davis got hurt, but like they knew it ain't just one guy fixes your run defense. It's multiple dudes. As much as like, I know a lot of people probably miss Bobby right now, but it's not just like having Bobby would not fix all of this. It would help. Bobby's great, but it wouldn't fix all of it. This is like I said, this is starting on like Tuesday or Wednesday when the coach is putting in the plan, and the plan is not being executed, and other teams are figuring out ways around your plan, and it's working.
Speaking of players, Michael at Mick Newhouse, he's asked, how much of the defense would be fixed by simply having Jamal Adams back on the football field?
I do think that's an interesting question. It was I don't know if they showed all this on TV, but it was like safety day at the ballpark. It felt like Cam Chancellor was there. Jamal Adams was there. He hadn't been around, and they showed Ken Hamlin as well. Like, it was interesting. I made a note of that. Like, they could have used any of those guys. Really. Anyway, what was I saying? Oh, if they had Jamal. I think they'll be better with Jamal because I think Jamal's really good. But again, it's just so much of it is the scheme stuff. Like, Jamal ain't a guy with 30. He's not a guy whose number is in the 20s, but damn, his number is in the 30s, and you don't want them guys being at the first point of attack either. But Jamal is such a really good run defender that I do think it would help a little bit, in part because what Jamal was really good at, especially that little run last year with like the Steelers game, Saints game, and the Packers, they had a little stretch right there where they were really nasty on defense. Well, what they were really good at in that run, the Washington game too, is they could play too high, but still fit the run really well, because Jamal Adams is just a goddamn tank coming from like depth like that. Like, he could come from 15 yards off, crack a tight end, make the play. Like, he was really good at that. Not to say Ryan can't do that, but just, there's a reason that Jamal got $70 million. Like, he's even better at it, and that's fine. And he's a really good blitzer. Like, he's a really good run blitzer too. Like, Jamal is just good at a lot of stuff. I do think getting him back next year will be really helpful. And I can see why they thought their run defense would be better with him in it. But there's only so much you can do. Chris, they are a really bad run defense too, man. I don't even know if I'm putting this in perspective. Should I give some numbers here? Yeah,
we have for the last couple weeks, Mike. But you know what? We get new listeners each week, so why don't you give them the latest run stats for the Seahawks defense?
I won't even do the numbers right here. I will just say, I would just say this. On design, I think on designed runs, the Seahawks since week 10, I'm pretty sure are like 31st in the league or some shit like that. Like they are like the worst second worst run defense in the league on design runs. Like it's really bad. They don't get a lot of negative runs. They get run all over. Like it's really rough, man. I don't even. We're like 40 minutes into the podcast, and I feel like we haven't even given a good answer on it, because it's just finding new ways to say that they're just really, really bad at it. You know what? Also, here, this will put it in perspective today. I love that you got the stat that DJ Moore didn't catch the pass today. That's crazy. I did not know that until I got home. So you pointed that out. You know what also blew my mind? I was talking to Quandre after the game. And he had mentioned, I was talking about the run defense. He was like, man, like my job, I tell myself every week, I don't want to give up no posts, no seams, no bombs. And in the run game, I got to make sure that it doesn't turn into a big play. No big plays on me. And I'm like, oh, okay, yeah. And I'm like, he basically saved one from being big. I think it was one of them Chuba runs. It was like 16 yards. I went back and looked. I was like, that was their longest run. Their longest run today was 16 yards on a design run. I think Sam scrambled for like 25 or something, 26. But their longest design run, 16 yards. Despite that, they were still able to get 195 rushing yards with no run longer than 16 yards. That's really crazy, man. That's just death by 1,000 paper cuts. That's just just hitting you. I don't think I've ever seen anything like that. Usually when you get run over like this, there's a couple big ones in there that skew the numbers. For the past couple weeks, Clint Hurt has kind of been mentioning that, for example, the Raider game. There's an 86-yarder in there and a 30-yarder in there, right? What's 86 plus 30?
Over 100 yards. Let's just start there.
Yeah. So, but it's one of those, if you take those two out situation. Now, you can't take those two out, but it does speak to okay, we really fucked up on two of those in particular. Maybe we can fix what we did on those two, and the rest of the numbers will look okay. You can't do that after this game, because it was just quality run, quality run, quality run, quality run, quality run, first down, first down, first down, first down, first down. How many first down runs do they have today?
They had 14.
14. There's a season high for the Panthers today. 14 first down runs. That's just body blow, body blow, body blow with not even a big chunk in there. It's like being in a boxing match and dude don't never even throw no haymakers at you.
He's throwing jabs.
He just knock you out in the 8th off jabs. That's crazy. You never see that shit.
And the crazy part is you see it coming.
Yeah, you always jabs be just. When you want a baseball analogy, it's like a team scoring like 12 runs on you with no homers. They just hit hella singles, no extra base hits, just a bunch of singles until motherfuckers round the base. That's what the problem is here. That's almost the worst situation, because that usually means you're not missing a bunch of tackles either. Usually on a big ass run, you usually got to miss a tackle. Here, they're just space is just there right off the line, man. Just really troubling stuff.
Getting pushed back, and that's all she wrote. Next up, this one comes from Mike Davidson at Mike Industries. I'm curious. One thing I was curious about through Sunday's game, when it's clear Darnold isn't beating our corners deep or even at medium, why are the safeties still playing more than 10 yards off the line of scrimmage?
That's a good question, Mike. I think that there's a few reasons for that. One of them is that just the nature of their structure of the defense. Like, they're not just going to show single high and then run single high every time. Like, if you consistently are giving the same picture to the quarterback and the O-line, pretty much, and everybody, if you're giving the same picture pre-snap as you are post-snap, it's the NFL. Like, that's just, you got to mix it up a little. We got to be versatile in your schemes a little bit. And you got to account for motions and stuff like that. Like, there's a reason you don't just show one thing and then do the thing. The Legion of Boom could do that shit. No one else can do that. Only the Legion of Boom was gifted enough to be like, look, bro, we're running cover 3. We will even yell it to you guys before the snap. You can't stop. You got to mix it up a little bit. The other reason is that the defense they still don't want to get burned by the deep ball. Like, you don't want to get lulled to sleep and then they get you. Like, if you actually watch the Panthers' last game against the Broncos, that's kind of what happened. They were running it, and then Sam would hit like a play action ball over, Patrick Surtain. He had like a 50-yarder to DJ Moore in that game. That's Pete Carroll's worst nightmare is you get run on, and then you cheat on the run coming up, and then they play action your ass, and they get you.
Kind of happened in the second half, or the first half, that play action touchdown. It wasn't explosive like that, but
which
the touchdown they threw to Shi Smith.
Oh, after the interception. Well, that play, that's a bad play. That's cover 3. And as a cover 3 beater, where they just bring Shi from as a crosser across the
formation.
Not across the formation. He comes into the secondary, and Ryan and Cody are so far up on the line because of the play action that they don't have time to recover underneath. And then I think there's a go ball that pulls. There's a go route that it pulls Michael Jackson.
You're talking about the corner. Okay, yep.
Yeah, it pulls Michael Jackson away, and then Quandre, I guess, could come help on that, but that's really on the underneath guys, I think. So, there's a few reasons for that. And again, they are bringing Ryan into the box. A couple plays, they're bringing Quandre into the box.
You saw that. He had a tackle for loss, I think, or damn near.
Not a tackle for loss.
It was probably a short gain. He was there, though. He came from his safety position. Obviously, there was, I think this is for the 2-minute warning. There was no time left. They were obviously a running scenario, and you see Quandre coming in and making a play. Oh,
yeah. That's right before the first half. Yeah. So they have that stuff, but you have to do it consistently. They're bringing Ryan. I wish we could just do watch the whole film together as like a stream on this. Like, they're doing a lot of what you would say is the answer, and it's because guys are. If one guy gets knocked back into another gap, one guy doesn't get off a block, one guy doesn't hit the right fit, it can all go awry. Or even if it doesn't go awry, it's just a difference between a 1-yard gain and a 5-yard gain. That's huge. It's a huge difference, especially on like first down. If one guy loses his one-on-one matchup or whatever, one guy's not in the right fit or whatever the thing is. So, they're doing that. They're running cover 3. They're showing a single high or switching out or whatever. They're doing everything they can. Like Pete Carroll even said it today. He was like, we threw everything we had at them to try to stop what they were doing. It just couldn't. Like, that's the worst. That's really the worst.
This next one is from Philip Birnbaum at based_Phil95. Do you think Poona Ford and Cody Barton will be on the Seahawks team next season?
That's an interesting question. I think both of them are on expiring contracts here. Let me see. I'm pretty sure. Because Poona got a 2-year extension a little bit ago. Poona Ford. Wow, Poona has a $10 million cap hit? Did not know that. All right, I knew that. I just don't think about it very often. Poona's a free agent at the end of the year, and so is Cody. I would guess that Cody, if I had to guess right this second, I'd say probably not on Cody. I just feel like they'll probably just want to look elsewhere for that. You know what I bet they would probably do? I could see them signing a veteran there. You could just see it. Like, I could imagine that'd be the move there. Well, maybe drafting a guy too. And then with Poona, I would say yes. I lean to, mostly because like he's not like a liability or anything out there, but I think that it's one of those situations where his relationship with Clint will probably weigh in, because I don't think Clint gets fired or anything. So you have Clint, and you got to remember Clint and Poona's tight. Clint, when he was at Louisville under Charlie Strong, recruited Poona, like brought him out there and wanted to sign Poona. Poona ended up following Charlie Strong to Texas, and I think Clint ended up going to the Bears. But then even like when Poona was coming out in the draft, that Clint and Poona reunited again on, I think Poona was one of their 30 visits. And then when he goes undrafted, Clint's one of the guys working the phones to try to get to try to get Poona on the team as a UDFA. So like that tie goes pretty deep, so, and then now Clint gets promoted. So I would think that at the end of the year, even if it's not at a pay raise, like I think Poona got a pretty good contract last time around. Even if he doesn't get a raise, I would say he sticks around. Like when your position coach get promoted to the defensive coordinator or offensive coordinator, you're probably sticking around. So yeah, that would be my guess on both of those guys. That's a good question though.
This next one comes from Tony K at Karate K84. I keep seeing the front seven is hard to watch. Obviously, this is from other Twitter users. What can be done besides keeping Brooks, Nwosu, Harris? Who else is worth keeping? Mafe, Darryl Taylor, Puna Ford, maybe cut Monet, Q Jeff, Collier. Your thoughts on there, Mike? Should they make some? You kind of mentioned with Cody Barton for sure and Puna, but for everyone else, how do you think that plays out going into next season?
I think the depth is an issue. I think that's I also think that having Jamal and Quandre together will be a good tandem. Like if we're just projecting for next year, I guess that's how I kind of read that. Is that how you heard that question? You think like a next year?
Yeah, he's looking forward and seeing how can this defense get better with what they have now, and who should be on the roster next season based on contract situation, how they're playing. You mentioned Cody and Puna, so let's look at Collier, Q Jeff, Bruce Irvin. He's getting up there in age, and then Brian Monet. Thoughts on those guys?
So I think that short term, you kind of just got to deal with what you got. And you could hear it too. That's the thing about like run defense. Run defense is not, it's some scheme, like I've talked about. Some of it though, like is get that big ass dude off of you and make a tackle. You know, you can hear it in Ryan Neal's press conference today. And I talked to some other guys in the locker room too, you know, they get frustrated when the run defense is the problem because it's just it's such a fundamental part of the game. It's you got a dude trying to block you, get his ass off of you, and make a play. And that more than anything gets associated with like toughness and heart and grit and all those other adjectives. Like there's obviously technique to shedding a block or whatever, but sometimes it's like, dog, just man up. Like I think Ryan Neal even said today, he was like, sometimes you just got to bow up, let them hang, and make a play. You know, like, and that by that he means be a man, drop your nuts, and make a tackle. Like that is at its fundamental, like core, what good football is about. And you don't really know how well guys will be in that aspect on a consistent play-by-play basis, but I do think they need to the personnel thing long term. Short term, there's nothing you can do about that. Guys got to man up and drop their nuts, which is a great quote. Shout out to Ryan Neal, great quote. Sometimes you just gotta let them hang and do your thing. Long term, though, I really think they need better depth, and I think today was a good example of that. I think in particular they need like better three techniques. So not necessarily not necessarily nose tackles like Al or Brian Monet. Like I think like for what they're making, they're fine. You know, like you're not gonna go out and pay a nose tackle like $20 million, right? So that's a position you're just never really gonna spend on. Unless you're like the Jets and you got like Quinnen Williams, you know, he's probably gonna get a bag. But unless you can get, other than that, you usually don't pay those type of guys. You need like a three technique. You need some depth there because today, without Shelby, without Al, who was kind of playing like a one technique, three technique type thing, without those guys, they were about as bad as we've ever seen them. You know, outside the Raiders game. So I think that the depth there is interesting. You got to probably clean house on everyone. I would probably say. I would say I think the starters are still fine. Like I think Al, Shelby, Puna is still probably fine. But the depth beyond that, I think you gotta like say, hey, we need to clean house here. Let's go get some studs there. Like let's invest some money in those positions. Let's invest some draft capital in those positions because you got to rotate those guys, and right now the rotation is not looking strong.
Let's flip to the offensive side of things. This one's from Mohammed Khalif. Will Geno need to take a pay cut if the Seahawks lose out?
Not necessarily. It depends on why they lose out. Like today, for example, Geno I thought was like fine. You know, like I don't think Geno's the reason they lost the game. The 2 turnovers were really bad. The second one though, the free where he thinks he's getting a free play, that's tough. Because I'm pretty sure everybody watching at home probably thought, oh, that's a free play. Like Brian Burns is like a full half yard over the ball at the snap. I don't know. And then there's another dude on the other side of the line. I think it was Frankie Louvu, go Cougs. I think Frankie was like offsides too. You know, so it was very clearly multiple players in the neutral zone at least. So I see why Geno just like, oh yeah, fuck it, free play. Like I see what he was seeing there, that's I don't necessarily consider that like a bad decision necessarily. Like in hindsight, you're like, oh wow, why did he throw that? But in real time, I'm sure everyone was like, oh, they jumped. So that throw not included in the sample. I think he had like 2 bad throws today. The first interception is bad. Threw it late and threw it in the wrong spot. That was terrible. And then the second one, the one that almost got picked by J.C. Horn, damn near in the same spot to DK later in the drive. That was bad. That was bad. That was like 2 balls that hit the defender in the smooth in the hands, and you should not have thrown either of those. So 2 bad throws, at least from just watching the game live. 2 bad throws out of 36 dropbacks or whatever. Or 36 attempts. I'm not really tripping off that. So if they have more games like this, where it's clear, like I think I haven't read everyone's coverage, but I'm pretty sure like from all the radio stations to Seattle Times to Tacoma News Tribune, everybody, I bet you they wrote about the defense. Pretty sure. Why? Because when you walked out of that building, you realized that was the story. It wasn't like, oh, number 7 couldn't get it done today. Like he wasn't great, but he clearly was not. Drop the microphone. It clearly was not like, oh, he's the issue. It's one of those situations where we talk about after this podcast. We go through like a list of who's the biggest problems. Geno would be low on the list, I think. Like they didn't run the ball. Again, they cannot run the ball. That is bad.
They can't stop the run and they can't run it. What do you know?
They ran for 26 yards today. And Travis had 26, and he ain't the only one who ran the ball. So that means everybody else did a whole lot of nothing. That's really bad. Really, really. I think I have it. Do I have a stat? Do I have a stat on that? I think I have a stat on the run game. Oh, this was their season low on design rushes, by the way. 26 yards.
They might top it against the 49ers.
Oh yeah, that 49ers defense is really nasty. Okay, here we go. I got a stat for you on the run game. Since week 10, the Seahawks have averaged 43 design rushing yards per game. Dead last in the league. 43 designed. So again, there's no take out Geno's scrambles and stuff. 43. And they run the ball for 0 yards or negative yards on the design carries 31% of the time.
Damn, a third of the time they're going backwards or nowhere.
And that's second most in the league. I think only the Vikings are worse since week 10. That is not just a bad run game. That is a run game that is actively holding the rest of the unit back. Like the run defense is the same thing. We spent a lot of time on that. But when we're talking about the other side of the ball, that is not just your run game is a liability at that point. It's very similar to like, me and Chris are big basketball fans. Chris has watched a little bit more NBA than I have time to. But like y'all saw the story last year in the playoffs. We followed or 2 years ago in the playoffs, we followed the 76ers. Ben Simmons, he can't shoot. That's not necessarily that big of a problem. There's a lot of dudes in the NBA that can't shoot. He won't shoot. And it became a liability. They're 4-on-5 on offense. That's exactly what the Seahawks are doing. Their run game is not just bad, it's become a liability because when you're going backwards, 2nd and 10, now it's 2nd and 11 if you run out of first down. Or you get stuffed on 2nd and 7. Well, now it's 3rd and 7. Like all of these things, and it's hamstringing a word?
Yeah, make it one. It's hamstringing. Yeah.
Okay, hamstringing. It's a word. It's a made-up word. It's hamstringing Shane Waldron's play calling. Like he's probably looking at the book like, man, ain't but so much shit I can call if I can't call any of these runs we practiced. Like they probably go into any given game with 80 or 90 plays available, anywhere from 70 to 90 probably. If 35 of them are runs and you can't run none of them, cut your playbook in half, man. That's tough. So the run game just disgusting, man. So no, I don't think Geno has to take a pay cut. If the losses all look like this going forward, no, man, Geno will be the one thing they're good at, throwing it.
This one comes from Mookie Alexander at Mookie Alexander. How likely do you think the Seahawks will draft a quarterback in the first round in 2023?
we're gonna set a record, Chris. I think we've gotten this question
Once a week.
4 weeks in a row, 4 or 5 weeks in a row. Shout out to Mookie though. I think Mookie's a consistent listener as well. So they're gonna draft a quarterback. Someone texted me about that too. Well, multiple people do, but I was in a group chat with some people about that. I just cannot. Here, I'll read you what I responded to them about.
Probably said something along the lines of, "I don't see how it won't work. You have a guy that's playing well. Why not bring him back?"
I said, I didn't even think about that. I said it will be very hard not to use that pick. You know, the pick they're going to get from Denver.
Yeah, second overall at this point.
The Denver Broncos are bad. It said it'll be very hard not to use that pick on a defensive player. And then someone else responded with something I won't read. But I said they have 4 losses to the worst division in football because they can't stop the run. All 4 of those teams rushed for over 160. 2 of them went over 200. And they're going to draft a defender, I would guess. I just don't think when your defense is this bad, you can afford to use a quarterback with the way Geno is playing as a luxury pick. You know, you just have so many other spots you could use with that. You still need a top tier pass rusher. I like Chenna. Chenna's having a great year. Chenna should probably be a Pro Bowler in the NFC, but you need another guy clearly. And so you need that. You need some run stoppers. Like you need too much stuff. Both of their first round picks should probably be defense.
Yeah.
Not even, maybe they don't got to be D lineman.
Tackle and linebacker.
They probably just got to be defense. You know, so like I don't think they can afford to do anything else. You're better off just signing Geno and trying to fix your defense. I think you got a better chance in the short term, like with Quandre, with Jamal, with Tyler, with DK, with your rookie tackles on rookie deals. They'll be second-year guys, but with Tariq on the cheap, Abe on the cheap, Charles on the cheap. Like you have a lot of guys who are either in their prime or on the cheap, and that's when you really want to win. And I think you got a best chance of doing that with Geno over the next couple of years, not drafting Bryce Young or whatever and waiting for him to develop. So maybe he's good in 2025. Now, Geno's good right now. Go win, you know? And yeah, you got to fix your defense to do that.
Imagine taking that guy and still having a bad defense.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like, you drafted Bryce Young. Congrats. You still can't stop the run. You know what I mean? Like that's
what did you solve?
You know, I mean, maybe you draft some guys later, and you know, with your other first round pick, or
that's a risk you don't take, Mike.
There's other guys that can probably stop the run. I mean, look at some of their best defenders are stopping the run. You know, you got Big Al, you got Puna. Yeah, like some of their guys they're not all blue chip first round talents.
You're right,
but you can do it without them.
The Seahawks have an opportunity to make some changes. If you can go ahead and take that guy. Just bite the bullet. Get the best player available. And if it's a defensive guy and you like him, go for it. Don't, as we said, don't try to get cute and outsmart everybody and find a third-round defensive tackle. I'm like, he's great. Get the best available DT. Get the best available linebacker. Get the best available whatever is available defensively.
Yes, I do think, well, it depends. There's some positions I don't think you should use a top 5 pick on. But if that's the case, trade back or whatever. I don't know. But yeah, you can't really afford to do that right now, I don't think, because I don't think any of the quarterbacks in this draft are like leading this version of the Seahawks to a Super Bowl. You know, like I'm not super high on Bryce. I'm a little higher on CJ, but like honestly, the person with the highest ceiling in this draft class seems to be that kid from Florida. Like that dude, he's either going to get the GM of the Year award, or he's going to get that GM fired. Like there's no in between. Whoever team takes him is either going to the Super Bowl or they're about to be drafting a quarterback like 2 years from now. Because he's just so up and down. But boy, I see some talent in that kid. So I don't really believe in any of those dudes as guys who can just come into a struggling situation. Because you got to fix the run game and you got to fix the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball. Very few quarterbacks are capable of overcoming that. You know, damn sure ain't no rookie.
Unless you got Mike Vick or something.
And even then, like, that's tough. So, yeah, I think I don't think I think someone like the Lions should take Bryce because he can probably come in with the, you know, like the Lions and Texans both have really good offensive lines. They can come in and just help out that, you know, they can run the ball really well. Those better situations right now. The Seahawks will be taking that rookie quarterback in the first round, hoping that you can lead them to the Super Bowl like right away. At the sacrifice of, you know, not taking a defensive player who could help you win that Super Bowl right away. So don't take a quarterback. Keep
We
jumping.
got a few more. This one comes from Holly at Hallberry03. Is it time to officially turn the page to the offseason for the Seahawks?
No, I don't. Holly's another long-time listener. What's up, Holly? Also, I think Holly tweeted me and said she's like studying for finals or something like that right now. So, good luck on all your final exams, Holly. No. It ain't time to turn the page, man. Chris, I think they can still make the playoffs.
Oh, without question.
And who would they play? They would play what, the 3 seed, right? They're probably gonna have to get in as a 7 at this point, unless Washington just completely implodes. So they probably got it, which could be possible because that Taylor Heineke thing is a combustible experience, I'm sure.
So would it be the Cowboys?
No, they would probably play the 2 seed, whoever the 2 seed would be. So let's say you get in as a 7, and you got to go to Minnesota.
Oof.
I'm not scared of Minnesota. Minnesota's a
Hell, they lost today to the Lions.
bro.
Sunday.
I think every team in the NFC North has a negative point differential. I'm pretty sure about that. Let's see. Let's check.
Wild.
Yeah. Minnesota's at -1. Oh, excuse me.
The Lions.
Detroit is the only team with a positive point differential,
which is crazy.
They're at +2.
They got it done. Shout out to the DC over there making some change. Aaron Glenn.
Shout out to Dan Campbell too. His staff is black as hell, so I'm kind of rooting for Dan. Chicago's at -63. Green Bay's at -39. Then Detroit is +2. So basically what I'm saying is the Vikings are the most fraudulent 10-3 team there is. So let's say you get in the playoffs and you're the 7, you got to go to Minnesota and play, in their stadium, wild card weekend. Would the Seahawks be favored? No. But I just think that that's not like the end of the world. And if you get to the divisional round with this team and you have like a top 3 pick, that's like a win for your season, I think. So, no, I don't think it's time to give it up quite yet. Even if you're 7-8 going into the Jets game, I still think you got a shot. So, no, I don't think it's time to give up quite yet. It doesn't look good. I will say that. Like, it does not look good. But, like, you know what's funny? It's not funny but it's funny to me because I'm weird like that. But I'll ask some guys, like guys will be like, "Yeah, I know we're gonna turn this around. I got the faith to do. I believe we're gonna fix it." The classic response answer that we usually say as reporters is, "Okay, well, what gives you that faith?" And he's like, "Cause I know we got the guys. We got the guys in this locker room. Those had something to the equivalent of, just look around the locker room. Look who we got. And I'm just like, yeah. I just you can write it down. I just kind of walk away, and I'm just like, you know what? I mean, the guys you have are the reason you have this problem. You know what I mean? Like in my head, I'm just like, I get what they're saying. That makes sense. It's the only thing you can say, right? It's like, I believe we're going to fix it because, well, you can't be like, I believe we're going to fix it. We're going to trade for Aaron Donald tomorrow. Well, no, you can't say that. You have to say, I believe in the guys in the locker room. And then, they believe that. I just walk out of there thinking, well, I mean, the guys in the room, part of the problem, like, I don't know. I'm just weird like that. But yeah, so it looks bad, but it's not the end of the world. And I do think, here's the other thing. Geno is actually still putting up really decent numbers without a run game. And in the regular season, I think that can get you some wins here and there. I do, because they can still get some explosive passes off with Geno's getting nothing from the run game, like absolutely nothing, and still throwing it relatively efficiently, man. Like when you got a quarterback who can do that and pass protection that can generally hold up, like that can get you some wins.
Let's take a step back and realize not that many people had this team where they are right now at 7-6. So I think people just need to realize the season is not going the way the Seahawks wanted to. But boy, there was no one out there except for who was the dude that thought Seattle was building something. I thought he was smoking moon rocks. Who was that? He was an NFL. Oh my goodness.
You mean KJ?
No, not. I told KJ he's tripping. I was like, bro, they might win. I said, bro, they might go 8-9 and miss the postseason. He was like, I don't know, Chris. I think Geno got something. I'm like, I'm not doing this with you, KJ. KJ, you was right. I apologize. Man, there was a reporter. He was like, man, the Seahawks are building something. I'm like, building what? If they win more than 8 games, I'll be stunned. And they can honestly win 9 games. But I think everyone needs to just calm down and realize they've exceeded our expectations. Everyone that is listening to this show, I don't know if there's any listeners out there that are like, oh, yeah, I saw them going 8-9 besides myself. And even 8-9 is kind of a discredit because if I told them that, they'd be thinking, bro, you tripping, bro. We can easily get 11 wins, blah, blah, blah. For what it's worth, this team is doing something unique. All right. They suck at the run defense. At this point, they're probably not going to figure it out. To Mike's point, they look around the room. There are some problems in there as to why the run is not being stopped. Personnel changes. They can't make any moves and make this defense on the run better. They just got to really just execute and be consistent, which is a problem. So right. I think it's really just as simple as this team has exceeded everybody's expectations except for those in that locker room. And we'll just see how it goes. They still have an opportunity to definitely make the playoffs, but they got to win some games. And while their schedule might not be crazy tough, it's tough because two sides of the football can't do certain things. They can't run it well, and they can't defend the run. And if those continue to be an issue, which, my goodness, am I a genie in a bottle? It seems like that's going to be a problem for the rest of the season. They're probably going to go 2-2, which is not terrible, but in this playoff race, that puts you at what, 9-8?
Mm-hmm.
Hey, that might get you in, but it depends on what these other teams do. So I'll just say that.
Well, here's the thing, though. Well, I just don't know how much the expectations from everyone else should matter
to them.
Not just for the whole season, but just because of the start that they went out to. What was their best record this year? It was a 6-4. Were they 6-4 at one point? Is that right? Yeah,
going up. They were going. Yeah, was that so 10? Yeah, right before the bye week. Yeah, 6-4, and then they lost right to the Bucks. Does that sound right?
So they were 6-3 going into that game.
Okay, even better. So they were riding high.
So if you start the year 6-3, and even if we say you get to the bye week, you're 6-4, right? Because they were in what, first place
in the NFC?
Yeah, not NFC. NFC West coming out of the Bucks game, I think. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So flying home from Germany, you're in first place. To finish potentially like 8-9, you're right. Based on everyone else's expectations, that's a win, especially because you get a top 3 pick too.
Shout out.
You start the year like that, like 6-4, 6-3. If you don't finish with 10 wins, that's bad. Like that's 10 win without losing someone important. You know, like
they lost Jamal.
Yeah, but they lost Jamal like in the first half of the first game. Yeah. Like if you start 6-4, 6-3, or whatever, you should finish with a winning record. Like same thing I would say with the Giants. The Giants started with like 6-1 or something like that. If they don't finish with a winning record, like I never thought they were good, right? Even when they were 6-1. But if they don't finish with a winning record, that's embarrassing. I think like that's really bad for Brian Daboll the first year, with him running the show. So you're right. Big picture for the year, yeah, people wrote them off, and people like us, they won't be that good, and then they go, 8-9 wins or whatever. That's fine, but in a vacuum. But if you start 6-4 and you can't get to 10 wins with the schedule that they had a bunch of teams. But how many teams did the Seahawks beat with a winning record?
So let's start. Man.
Yeah.
I don't think. Ooh. Have they?
Do the Chargers have a winning record?
They, at the time, they were 3. What were they were over 500, yes. If I'm not mistaken, because I think they won like 2 games straight.
All right, so I think the Chargers and the Giants are their only wins over teams with winning records. Right, like that currently have winning records, which is how usually that stat works. When you see that, it's not usually about what the team's record was at the time; it's what they currently have when you make that declaration. So yes, the Chargers have a winning record, 7-6. The Giants have a winning record, 7-5. Right, but other than that, you look at the records for a second though. You look at the teams that they've lost to, and it's teams that are not good. The Bucks are not good. The Raiders, not good. The Panthers, not good. So you start 6-4, you get what I'm saying. I just think that you're right. In a vacuum, even if they were go 8-9, whatever, it ain't that bad. That's like 2 wins above expectation or something. Next gen stats or whatever. But once you start 6-4, that's rough. Start 6-3. That's come on, man. You can't do that. So they need to get this. They need to get this shit together. It's bad.
Last one. This one is from a good old age. Does Lumen have the worst looking artificial turf in the National Football League?
The aesthetic of the field is pretty bad. It's so random. I was actually just thinking about that the other day. Looking at film, I was like, man, this is just a weird. The games look old on film. They don't. They don't look
modern.
Yeah, like when I watch a game, like the Vikings film for the Vikings tape looks like super cool. Like it feels like you're watching a game like just on the moon when you watch like the Vikings or something like that. But I don't think so. I think the worst playing surface, it looks like it's Chicago, but realistically, it's probably where the Commanders play. Like those are dumps. Both of them are dumps. But yeah, just aesthetic it's not. It's bad, but it ain't the end of the world. At least their turf isn't like ending people's seasons like SoFi. SoFi's field is bad, man. You can set your watch to someone having a lower body injury on SoFi Stadium's turf, man. That's just $5 billion stadium, dude.
Can't have bad turf. What is that, man?
Low quality surface, man. Like, that's pretty shitty. But no, I will say this on Lumen. That home field thing is gone. They have lost to some, not even just this year, just over the years. They just have some disappointing losses, man. To some teams, they have like Colt McCoy. They've lost to Colt McCoy like twice.
Yeah, he beat the Seahawks on a bad hamstring. Boy, tore his hamstring up and still got the dub.
Yeah, he did it with two different teams too. He came in here with the Giants one year, the Cardinals the next year. Lost to Sam Darnold.
Didn't they lose to Taylor? They lost to Taylor Heineke.
That wasn't here, but
it wasn't.
I remember. I had to fly.
I was in DC.
Yeah, fly away to DC. Watched them lose on Monday night.
16-15 or something. 17-15.
Yeah, 17-15 because Russ threw a pick on a 2-point that would have tied.
They had a nasty 2-point conversion too. I was like, ew, that might have been the catch of the decade.
Yeah. No, you're thinking of the Bears game.
That's right.
They lost here, which was also bad because it was like to Nick Foles or something.
Okay, look at that. Okay, I had it all mixed up. I had all these backup quarterbacks in my head. Okay, that's what it was. It was the Bears.
That's also the last time that they wore those uniforms that they wore today at home.
Good call.
They have never won a game at home in the uniforms they wore today. So burn those. Yep. I actually like that colorway, but you can't win in that. It's pretty bad. I believe in the Seahawks though. I believe that they have some fight left in them to make a run. I believe in Geno and the weapons he's got.
But you ain't picking them this Thursday.
They just gotta stop running screens, dog. Like this is so bad. Stop.
I see the vision. It's unfortunate though.
I don't see it, man. I'm about to.
Hey, man, when it works, I'm gonna at you because it's gonna be
like two good screens this year. I think Ken Walker had one. I think like Marquise Goodwin had one. But like,
there's no room for growth. They can get it done.
This is so bad.
The one today almost worked, but the defender, shout out Go Cougs,
the one today almost worked. You can say that shit every week. That's the thing. The one today almost worked. That's
two things can be true. It almost worked, and keep running them, guys. It's gonna come through. I believe. I won't be like Mike to throw a towel in on it.
You know how we basically Pete got cyberbullied into doing the let Russ cook thing because it was such a strong movement online.
Yeah,
we got to cyberbully Shane Waldron into stop running screens. I don't know what the little catchphrase is that we got to think of. Let's got a hashtag. We got to cyberbully Shane Waldron into never calling another screen.
Shane, I have no problem with it. It didn't result in a turnover. Geno just could have got a little higher there, but I understand what you're trying to do. Get better, execute, and then when it happens, we can tag Mike in and say, hey, screens work. Just got to execute. It's the simple things in life.
No. Just give it up. I'd rather they run flea flickers or something. Try something else.
Well, then, hey. No, flea flickers, that's going downfield. To your point earlier, the screen it's another form of trying to set up the run game.
Yeah, they're trying to supplement the run game, but there's other ways to do. I don't know.
A flea flicker ain't it.
Run the Wildcat to DK or some shit. Like
they tried that and DJ Dallas was throwing a pass. Scratch that.
No. You don't gotta just run the Wildcat though. Like no, not like a zone.
Don't throw it.
Yeah. I don't need you making reads and throwing. No, just hand it.
Hey, there's no need for making a read. You see DK 1-on-1, throw that up.
No. I'm not.
It's gotta be a good pass.
They got to do something else besides the screen. We got to that's what we need to work on as a Seahawks like media people. We need to cyberbully Shane to never calling another screen as long as he's the coordinator because it just doesn't work. It doesn't work. Stop
Well,
doing it.
listen, that concludes our very first episode of. No, was this our very first one? Was just straight Twitter questions? I feel like we might have done this before.
It might
It's
be
been
the
a
first
while.
post game. We've done a mailbag before a couple times.
Well, yeah, this is our first post game Twitter question show that we've ever done. So that tells you how much we've talked about how bad the run defense is. I think that sums it up. But we won't do a pregame show for the Niners because it just wouldn't make sense to drop hit after hit like that. We'll give you guys a break.
Yeah, it's just a short week too. To get me, Chris, and Matt Barrows, who covers the Niners schedules, to line up over the next 2 days is very tough. We're all very busy because of the short week. So, yeah, no preview episode this week.
But if anything, we definitely plan on dropping our film review. We'll figure out when we'll drop it, but that'll be coming. And then obviously we'll do our post-game show for you. It'll be coming to you Friday morning. Might have to, do some off-the-scene stuff. We wake up early and do the show.
I can't wake up that early. It was tough.
Well, I guess we're going to be thugging it late then. One of the two. We'll figure it
Yeah, I
out.
can stay up late. I'm a night owl. I can do it.
So Mike says, man, I'm just now leaving, bro. It's 1 a.m. You still want to do it?
Nah, yeah, I can do it. It's fine.
All right. Well, we appreciate all the love and support. Thank you guys for Twitter questions. We'll catch you guys later. Anything else you want to add, Mike?
I just want to echo the appreciation of the love. We would not be able to do this guys without you guys. Spotify, Apple, people listening to Athletic, YouTube, whatever, man. We appreciate all that love, all that support. We do this for you guys every episode, once a week, twice a week, 3 times a week. It's just straight for you guys. So love you, appreciate you. We will catch you guys later in the week. Peace.